I saw this on Twitter today, and Jeffrey Tucker talks about the podcast with Joe Rogan and Alex Berenson. If you're not familiar with Alex Berenson, he's an ex New York Times journalist who he was on his own, and he was analyzing all this COVID stuff from early on. He's been banned from Twitter. He's been banned from here and there. He's basically now writing on Substack. That's how he makes a living.
Sure.
But he did a interview with Joe Rogan, and
I see where you're going with this now.
Keith Olbermann, you remember him?
Olbermann. How can I ever? There's no way to delete the Keith Olbermann from my life and memory banks.
Yeah. So Jeffrey Tucker writes, Alex is stunningly knowledgeable. Okay, that's his opinion, right? Keith Olbermann, the two of them have the combined IQ of a sink.
That's just ridiculous. Keith Olbermann.
Yeah, but so I went to go see what Keith Olbermann's up to, and I found this video on his Facebook page.
Look at him getting virtue signal when he gets the jab.
Booster shot. Mission accomplished. And it is time to stop coddling them, the ones who won't get the damn shot already. And our first step, you and I, is symbols, the language we use. We call these people vaccine hesitant, vaccine skeptics, anti-vax. We say they're protesting mandates and passports. They're making a personal choice. They're waiting for more information. They're making a medical decision. Bullshit! They're afraid.
Sorry about that.
They're afraid to get vaccinated.
Okay, pause that for a second.
Stop feeding their egos about what they're doing. Stop
who oh gosh, I can't stand the stupidity. Who thinks, okay, how small must the bubble be that you think this is fear and fear alone? Like, if you would go on Twitter, other than the people that you're following, you'll see people talking about already having COVID, talking about studies that are showing, listen, if I've already had it and the studies are saying I have good immunity, I just don't want to deal with the vaccine right now. Plus, most of the vaccines are like I have to get 2 shots or 3 shots, like boosters. It's like there's no fear. Like there was another episode or someone else talking about it. It was I brain cramping up on all of this, but it was along the same lines of like it may have been Don Lemon and Chris Cuomo, and it was like, well, I know for one thing, the vaccine doesn't have a microchip in it. And I'm like, oh my God, seriously. But this goes back to like the QAnon stuff. You and I, we had this talk with Alex. We've never met anyone who's into all that. And yet they talk as though it's this blanket. So my question is it just easier for his little brain to think people are afraid and that we should be belittled, or anyone that doesn't think like he is should be belittled? Is that pretty much Mr. Sink? That's my nickname. He's Mr. Sink. Mr. Sink.
I guess the only reason I wanted to put that up there because it
torment me.
No, it's just a blast from the past. This guy, he's so buffoonish. I get so much laughter out of it, and people have to know he's buffoonish. I can't be the only one, And so you want to continue playing that?
Sure.
All right.
Play it some more.
Don't let your head pop off.
Legitimizing it. Vaccine hesitant, they're afraid. Vaccine skeptics, they're afraid. Anti-vax, they're afraid. They're protesting mandates and passports. They're afraid. They're making a personal choice. They're afraid. They're waiting for more information. Afraid. They're making a medical decision to be afraid.
It reminds me of like the angry dad yelling at their kid at like the ball game, like the ballpark, and don't be a wussy out there, kid. Don't tell me that you're not whatever. Don't tell me it's only a whatever. It's a spray. Yeah, that's what I feel. I feel like it's just like the angry old man who's lecturing us like we're like 7 years old playing PAL football or something.
Yeah.
Like I'm twisting my ankle. I'm limping off the field or the court, and he's yelling at me about, don't be a wimp. Get out there and do what you're told to do. Whatever. It's like, what are you talking about? And
I think
I just,
I
oh
think
my
that I
God.
think the last time I paid any attention to anything he did was, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago. He was tweeting at Penn State University fans, and they were going back and forth, and he ended up calling them morons and everything, and he eventually had to apologize. I don't know if he lost a job over it or whatever, but it's been about a half a decade since I even heard of Keith Olbermann, so it was just interesting
What
to
is
see
he
his.
actually doing? What does his bio say that he actually does? I actually don't know what he's even doing these days.
Oh well, we can check that out.
What does it actually say?
I've got to stay here, but there's no reason why you folks shouldn't go out into the lobby until this thing blows over. It doesn't really say anything.
Of course it doesn't.
Yeah, but
All right.
again,
So he is a sports political commentator who has basically become a crackpot.
yeah. So
Let me see what it says he does. I see 2018.
He's obnoxious. He's buffoonish, and I mean, he in a funny sort of way, Olbermann kind of reminds me of a left wing Trump.
Absolutely.
In some
I was
ways,
saying the same thing.
yeah.
But Trump, the difference would be Trump was always like charismatic, and he was trying to get people to like him. Like pre-political Trump, it was very much into I'm wealthy and look at me. He had cameos in movies. He was hanging out at the parties. He had all these pretty women. He had all that persona is part of what so many people liked about him. Olbermann, after he left ESPN and he got into his MSNBC political nonsense, he become like a hater of people who didn't think like him. The stuff that he would say was just bombastic. It was nuts. It was he is. I've heard him say things that are actually worse than Trump ever said on record. I don't know what Trump says behind doors, but yeah, definitely on record.
Yeah.
I cannot figure out where he works. This is so convoluted because it says on October 6, 2020, he resigned from ESPN to start a political commentary program on his YouTube channel. So I guess he has a YouTube channel, and that's all I know. So
how old is he? How old is he now?
How old do you think he is? Younger than I thought he was.
65.
He's 62.
Okay.
Yeah. I was like you. I was like going to mid to late 60s, but he's 62.
Anyway, bro, I hope you enjoyed Keith Olbermann coming back in your life.
Oh, no. And then the worst part is, like I said, it's not as though he's even making a point. This is typical Keith Olbermann. It's like, I'm just going to scream and yell at people and call them names, and then people will talk about me.
Did you consider him a good sportscaster?
It's almost unfair to evaluate that era of ESPN where you had, Patrick and Stuart Scott and Olbermann, all that. So you had this incredible Rich Eisen, because it was so well structured and it was so good at what it did. It was groundbreaking. They get more credit than they may even deserve it, but they were just it was so perfectly done and it was so well crafted. I have such a positive impression of it. It's not fair to even judge him one way or the other. If he was really good at what he was doing, he'd probably still be working in sports at all instead of dabbling with all of this nonsense of politics, because no one really cares. I don't think anyone on the planet who's listening to Keith Olbermann for political insight or thoughts. There's nothing that comes out of the man that's remotely useful. It's just about how to be bombastic.
Well,
so yeah, I don't know. No, don't know anything about Olbermann. I couldn't really tell you on the top of my head when's the last time I've seen or heard or thought about anything that had to do with him, to be honest. So yeah, you broke that bubble. It made me hurt a little bit. So I got yelled at by Keith Olbermann because I didn't want to play by his rules and his way. And as I've said, the hard thing I have is there's so many reasons people are into these buckets that he is trying to all up into one. Like I have to make everyone one cartoon, and there's like 15 different cartoons, and that's just not fair. So anyway, well, it's good for you. Look at you bringing more fun and levity to the show this week, and having more of a lighter heart with me. That's good. It's good for your soul, Bob.
Mixing it
Hey,
up.
we're News Talk with Brandon and Bob. We're here to tell you about some of the facts so you don't have to waste your time watching CNN.
We don't want you wasting any time with CNN.
Or Fox or MSNBC or some of these other guys that are making a whole lot of money.
Et cetera, et cetera.
Not paying.